You need mind cleansing. I call it mind cleansing because our head is, all day we have so many thoughts and clutter of those thoughts in the mind. It just cleanses. So what she mentioned in her talk was our body is made up of 5 elements, which we call Panchatattva. And that's why we say when we are born, we are born through those Panchatattvas in us, 5 elements in us. And if someone dies, we say, Panchatattva mein vilin ho gaya. So that goes back to nature again. So that's why it is very important for us to align ourselves with the nature. And that's the prevention according to Vedanta, according to Ayurveda. Okay, so our next speaker today is Dr. Pramila Vishwanath, and she is a naturopathic doctor. She's ND, she's PA, and she also is a founder of naturopathic school college in Bridgeport. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you for having me. I don't need a mic because I'm going to have you participate. It's not about me lecturing, it's about you. Because when we're talking about health, wellness, aging, just doing that yoga stuff, I lost 10 years. And just imagine if we just did that every day, wouldn't that make us feel like a spring in our walk, in our thought? That's what we need. So when I ask you this, what's aging? Just throw any answer out.
Growing.
Huh?
Just growing.
Growing, what else?
Change.
Change, what else?
It's just a word.
It's a word. I agree with you. It's a state of mind.
Feeling less powerful or less in control.
There you go. That's what we say to ourselves. It's not what is happening, but we say to ourselves, and therefore we are. So we change the paradigm, we change how we think of ourselves. And this is what I invite you to do. I invite you to think about, yes, we have a body, and yes, I use the analogy of entropy. Have you heard that word before? Entropy? Anybody?
Yeah,
Yes?
thermodynamics.
Sorry?
In thermodynamics.
Yes. But entropy is like you're going to the end, like you are breaking down. Like if the divine powers gave us trillions of heartbeats, and if we use it up too fast, then we are in entropy and we age or die sooner. So I'm inviting you to think about that. And this is what the yoga instructs us, how we can actually slow down that process. And we should teach it to our children, to teach them to breathe. It's not playing games on that.
That we don't have to teach them.
They know it. You're right. They teach us. It's like the tail wagging the dog. So if we can reduce the entropy by taking into account all of the things that Chandni was talking about, the breathing, the meditation. I ask my patients, when's the last time you sat quietly? Did nothing. They have to think hard. It doesn't come to them because we're always in motion. I'm not saying that motion is bad, but I'm saying unnecessary, creating that entropy to go faster. So I invite you to think about what you can do to slow that down. I really enjoyed what we heard about diabetes, heart disease. It's good to know these things because this is our body, about our teeth and how we should take care of it. This is our body. As a naturopathic physician, I always ask the question, where does disease lie? Where does it start? Not lie, but start. Any ideas? Mind. Where else?
I can cheat the gut.
The gut. In naturopathic medicine, we say all disease starts in the gut. If the gut's not happy, you're not happy. And that's why your nutrition is very important. What you eat will take care of what is happening in your body. You don't want diabetes, you don't want osteoporosis. Just looking at the slides, what came to my mind, oh my God, we're full of holes. Right?
Yeah.
Hole in the brain, now that's Alzheimer's. Holes in the bones, osteoporosis. Come on, what are we doing? So, nutrition is so important so we don't get all those holes. And keeping the blood flowing keeps the nutrients going to the cell. This is what we want. We want to eat, which I tell my patients, there are 4 pillars of health. Diet, digestion, absorption, and elimination. If any of these pillars are off, you're off. So pay attention what you eat. Because being off, you go into an acute state, which then goes into a chronic state, and you're in entropy. So again, think about that. You can always see me to see what you want to eat, because there is a test. And this is what I love. This is new stuff. And the stuff I want to talk about just briefly is the idea of the microbiomes. Have you heard of that? So if our body is made of 40 trillion microbiomes in our gut, and these are responsible for our hormones, our neurotransmitters, our immunity and integrity of the cell. And if they're off, the messages won't go to the right place. You've heard the words, I had a gut feeling. You've heard that. It starts there. I'm not saying the brain is not involved or other areas not, they are involved, but it's the gut that triggers that. And you've seen kids who eat a lot of sugar and they get hyper or dull, whatever. It's the gut. So eating is very important to all the factors that we spoke about. The body, the mind. What are we doing with our mind? What are we filling our mind with? Politics? No, we don't want to watch that. But what are we looking at? What are we educating ourselves with? This is important. It's important to educate you. It's important to think. It's important to stimulate your mind. But in a way that sort of helps the body. That stays in a balance with the body. So I always say, do things that you love to do. Because not only do you feed your body and feed your mind, but you also have to feed the soul. So you say, what's that? Well, what do you think soul is? Hello? Any idea what soul is?
Our thoughts.
Atma, extract.
Yes, who we are deep, deep, deep inside of us. That part that we don't see but we know exists, that is there.
Consciousness.
Consciousness, yes. The subconscious, the part that we have sort of know that we sort of go into other stages with it. But we have to feed our soul. And I say, in this culture, to feed our soul is to do something with passion. Do something that you love to do. Because it feeds you in a very deep way. Whether it's writing or reading. For me, it's music and dance. Put on music, I'll dance. And I lose myself in there. Do something that you're passionate about. Because without it, you don't complete the cycle of you. So yoga being such an important part of not only the body and the mind, but the soul. We come from a beautiful culture. You know, I go back to India and I fall in love with India again. And I say, oh my God, there are parts of India I never knew. but they all resonate the same. All of us gathered here is about resonating that energy. And as we sit and talk about it, we actually collectively are creating a sense of wellness, a willingness to learn, a willingness to be, a willingness to feed all of us. That's my short version of what I do.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pram. So you brought the soul in. And now, if you have any questions, you can ask questions to our panelists and they will answer one by one.
My question to you. Yeah, because there was some article saying that mouthwash is also not good for your body. Or
So it depends on what mouthwash. There are mouthwashes in the market which are 37% alcohol, and that really isn't good. And they are trying to change that now. But fluoride mouthwashes usually don't have alcohol because lots of time they are prescribed to children when they are going through braces and all that. So the mouthwash that I talked about actually does not have any harmful effect.
So don't buy any cheap mouthwash.
Cheap, even Listerine has a lot of alcohol.
That's what.
Yeah, so they said they used to joke that when dentists are expecting some patients that they don't like, they just take a lot of mouthwash. And that's a bad joke, but so they do. So many of them have a lot of alcohol content, which is not necessary.
So is it available over the counter?
The regular fluoride mouthwash is available over the counter, but this kind of extra fluoride toothpaste are prescription. Like this has to be under prescription. Yeah. So most people who don't have root exposure can get away with regular toothpaste because it does have fluoride. But this is when you already have roots exposed or have tendency to get cavities. Yeah.
Actually, the ones that you are suggesting are not called as a mouthwashes. They come as a fluoride rinse, and they don't have the.
So X or plaques.
So they are fluoride
but
rinses.
even Act and plaques do have the one with the alcohol. So when you buy it, you have to make sure it says fluoride mouthwash. That's very important because all of them have all sorts of mouthwash. So
I thought the fluoride ones are not called mouthwashes, they are called, I think, fluoride rinse. But I have a question. Does that actually kill the bacteria that fight with the heart disease? Because that was another thing.
Okay, no, these are two different kinds. Fluoride mouth rinses are used to prevent cavities. So what happens is it gets incorporated in your enamel or your root tissue and it makes the tissue more resistant to cavities. The heart disease and all that, those are different kind of bacteria which get generated between gum and the tooth. There is a little gap between gum and the tooth where these bacteria, which are called anaerobic because they thrive in less oxygen environment, those are very bad bacteria which cause problems with the diabetes and heart. And for that, the best thing is to floss with a thread.
Right.
That's the best thing one can do.
But is that-
because our toothbrush doesn't go underneath the gum, right? So when you floss, you go underneath the gum and take out those bacteria. That's the best way to prevent that.
So is it still true that you cannot use the mouthwash?
You can use the mouthwash, but they are trying to change the alcohol content because there is a controversy going on that not all mouthwashes are so good. That's what Dr. Thomas was asking.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Brenda.
So, one more question.
Okay. Yes.
Actually, nothing to be proud of, but I am already a long-time osteoporosis patient, and for the last 3-4 years, I already had kidney stone problems that included 5 lithotripsies. But in general, what I want to ask is, for anyone here, how do they know what is the right balance of calcium or vitamin D or other things without going to a specialist?
So based on whatever studies have been out there from years, I think I alluded to that in one of the slides. So in general, so your question, I just want to make sure I answer the question correctly. You're asking basically how much calcium and vitamin D you need, or you're asking how do we prevent?
Yeah, so I'll just describe my dilemma very briefly,
Yes.
but then also reiterate my question in general.
Yeah,
So I had to take calcium, and I did that for last 12 to 15 years. And
12
then,
to 15 years. right?
yes, and in the end I found out that I developed a lot of kidney stones,
Okay.
which has resulted into 5 lithotripsis in the last 3 years. So it's rock on one side and hard press on the other side. So in general, if I knew something 10, 12 years back, what would be the right balance for me to take in terms of calcium, vitamin D, and in general balanced with water drinking and diet?
Right.
But then the general question for everybody is, how does one find that balance without having that kind of detailed discussion with a specialist?
So first of all, if you follow the dietary requirements correctly, you probably get enough calcium, right? But most of us find it hard because we don't really focus on our daily intake and how much calcium we need. But even not just dairy, there's a lot of like even oranges and greens. So if we actually look into it and pay attention to what we consume, which is not a medicine preventively, you may be able to overcome that. So, and again, you do need a certain amount of calcium. So the milligrams that we're given for most people, 1,000 if you've not hit menopause, 1,200 if you have. It's a small difference. But again, osteoporosis and stones are not only related to that. So that's something we have to remember. There's a genetic component. There could be other medications you're on, like she mentioned, blood pressure pills. They can cause high calcium. And for osteoporosis itself, you can do everything under the sun, and sometimes you have a huge genetic component for that too. So that's a hard question to answer fully. You can only do what you can, right? So to do what you can, you eat right and exercise and hope that you can do the best, and the rest you have no control over.
I'd like to address that a bit from my end. Like I said, all disease starts in the gut. And if the gut is not in a healthy state, you're not absorbing, you're not assimilating, you're not eliminating. So if you're not in that space, you're going to make the kidney stones. You're going, because the body's trying to throw it out. The body, and this is so interesting for me, that the first layer in the gut, which has all these little villi and everything, is made of what is called single cells, the epithelial cells, that actually link together, which is called the tight junctions. I don't know if you've heard of these things. These tight junctions are very important, and they keep the integrity of the gut. Now, when you eat something, and a nutrient comes and knocks at the door of the cell, these tight junctions begin to open because of a polypeptide called zonulin. This zonulin is responsible for opening the opening the tight junctions to allow the nutrient to go through, and then it closes it. Right underneath that cell membrane is the lymphatics. Lymphatics say, oh, this is a nutrient. We know what to do with it. We're not going to fight with it. We take it to the bloodstream and it takes it to where it needs to go. But if there is a nutrient that comes in that is not recognized by the lymphatic chain, I call it, there's a war. And this war results in a certain amount of debris, which then goes into the bloodstream, which then goes to different joints and areas where I call the Achilles tendon, wherever we tend to have issues and develop an inflammatory process. So there is this whole mechanism that goes on in a physiological, so this is what I do, is functional medicine. So in a physiological way. So this is why we want to know, how do you know how much calcium to take? Even if you took the world's best calcium and spent millions of dollars on it, how do you know absorbing it? How do you know that it's going to the cell that you need to take it to? Do you see what I'm saying? So the first thing we need to do is clean up our blood. Put in the good bacteria that know what to do. Because they all live, all 40 trillion of them live. Like the bacteria, the viruses, the fungi, and the parasites, all living happily, speaking with each other. and then we go and destroy it by doing crazy things, even if you took an apple, it destroys some of the microbiomes. So you've got to be careful and see what we can do. And I know you might be aware of it in terms of eating all the foods that are natural. You know, my daughter-in-law is Russian, and she would say to me, you know, we take the carrot from the ground, we just clean it, and we eat it. Oh, we don't do that here. We clean it, we do all kinds of weird stuff to it. It doesn't even taste like a carrot, right? What are we doing to our food chain? So this is all very political now, but you know, we need to take care of all the things that we eat, see how we digest it, see how we assimilate. And I'll tell you something else, which just blew my mind. My kids would say, Mom, we don't want you to get Alzheimer's. I'm not getting Alzheimer's. What do you mean Alzheimer's? I'm not getting Alzheimer's. And no, Mom, you know, we don't know who's going to take care of you. So they put this bug in my head. So I said, okay, let me see. So when I found out that if we have chronic inflammation of the gut, like irritable bowel, colitis, etc., it actually sheds a lot of RNA, which is part of the metabolism of each cell. This RNA, we normally shed it because that's our normal way of shedding, like we do skin. But if we do too much of it, it switches on a DNA. So this is the idea, which is all new stuff, which I'm fascinated by. That if, for me it was cardiovascular, so God, hello trainer, can you pick me up and make me run and do all the things? Because I need to bring myself to speed on that thing. So there is a test that you can do for DNA to look at these things. So you may take all like thousands and millions of vitamin D, but if you're not absorbing because you're genetically not able to absorb it, which is what you addressed, then you're never going to get it. But why not get it from its natural source, which has everything in it, everything, the things that will actually move it into the cell, which your pill is never going to do.
So basically, eat healthy.
Hello? Yes.
Yeah, food is a medicine.
Yes, food is medicine. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Just an aside, a big aside.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brown. And yeah, sure. So I'm just fascinated by her talk too, that all the sciences say the same thing. You know, food is the medicine, gut is the problem, gut and brain connection. It's all the same. Even Ayurveda says the same thing. Ama in the body, that means the clutter in the body, that deposits every day, which we do not eliminate. We do not eliminate that we eat, that much we eat every day. And that ama, that clutter, that clogs the channels and spreads all over the body to create the inflammation. It's the same thing. Okay.
When we talked about the fluoride rings, I remembered one thing I forgot to mention is a new entity. As more and more people are having acid reflux disease called GERD. This is very bad for teeth because when you are lying down and this acid comes up from your stomach, it can really kill your molar teeth because it actually erodes the teeth. So for these people also, it is very important if they can do extra fluoride so that these teeth which are eroding would not be attacked by cavities. So I just wanted to mention that.
Can I say one more thing about that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
You said there is a special screening that a dental hygienist and dentist should do to check for the screening for cancer. Is it?
So there are a couple of new things. There is one called Visilight that they have come up with. Unfortunately, most dental insurances don't pay for cancer screening or anything. But lots of people have started using it now, and it is a special light which gives us an extra benefit besides our eyes. Also, we are trained in dental school to look under the tongue and in the mouth to see any kind of white patches or lesions. So that's part of the oral exam when you go to the
But then-
dentist.
Right, but there is no other test as such that they should do.
Besides this Vizilite, no. And if we see something that is suspicious, we send you to a specialist, usually an oral surgeon. And most of the time, they either biopsy the area or they send you to an oncologist if they already know that it's something bad. So, but we have found precancerous lesions. I have been in practice now for 30 years, and at least twice we found precancerous lesions. Once actually we found cancer, but precancerous lesions, when they are found, it is such a big blessing because then the patient is going to be spared of the whole cancer problem. So.
What did you say?
Thank you.
I just quickly want to say that you've heard about the concept of pH, right? Have you heard of that? So everybody wants to change their pH and make themselves alkaline, whatever that is, okay? Everybody wants to be alkaline. Okay, well, do you know the pH in the mouth? Do you know what that is? Is it acid or alkaline? Just,
pH of saliva
yeah,
is actually neutral, it's 7.
yeah. And then what's the pH of the stomach?
That's acidic.
All right, okay, now you've got acid reflux, what the hell are you doing? You're burning up your molars with the pH of the stomach. I mean, if you're looking at it from a physiological way. And what's the pH of feces? Anybody?
Alkaline.
Alkaline.
Yeah.
Urine
Acid.
and blood.
Alkaline.
So every part of our body is so different. So when people talk about being alkaline, what the hell are you talking about? What are you doing?
It has to be balanced.
It has to be balanced. Just an aside.
Thank you. We can take one more question if anybody has. Yes.
It's a general question for all Indians. When either a dentist or a doctor or a nutrition, when something recommends, what is your recommendation to get it done in US or in India? Because there is so much of price difference because of the insurance qualities also. Like an example, recently I was on my yearly test. So I went and they recommended, hey Prasad, you are 50 plus, you need a good stress test. And my insurance is not covering it. And when I called Norwalk Hospital, they asked me for $1,300. The same thing when I spoke in India, they said it is only 5,000 rupees. It's less than $100. So that counts for everything, whether you call it as a colonoscopy test, as a gastroenterology, or a dentist with whatever it is. So what is your recommendations like to get done in US or get done in India?
As much as you can afford a ticket to go to India.
They call it medical vacation. Just go to
Medical
India for the
tourism.
night.
It's called medical tourism. Yes.
So my only thing on that is I have like in my family, my dad is a doctor, so
Give the mic.
So, in my own personal experience with our family, so my dad's a physician. Every year he goes to India on a pilgrimage to heal everybody. So he takes everybody for their testing, whatever they need, whatever he can in his capacity, because the concept of screening is not there in India, it's just getting people to do things. From our own personal experience, the only thing I would tell anybody here, if you want to get it done in India, you really have to get do your homework properly. Who is a doctor? And even lab testing. There's so much of discrepancy from lab to lab, how the lab, even a simple blood count or cholesterol can vary. Whereas here, on this side of the world, there's just more laws and restrictions. I mean, so we know that we can trust most of these things. So that's my only comment. I'm not saying the physicians or technicians are any better or worse anywhere, but the difference is here we catch them if they're wrong, and there it's much harder. And I've had people who've gone through a lot of bad outcomes from that also. So that's my only comment.
As far as dentistry is concerned, I think in India standard of care is not like most Western countries. We are lagging behind in dental education a lot more than in medical education. I think medical education in India is still very good. As far as dentistry is concerned, things like root canals, root canal treatments or crowns, bridges, it is way below standard what should be done. I am not talking about big cities and people who are really well trained, but smaller places in India really do horrible jobs. I mean, I see this all the time because I have a lot of Indian patients that they get things done there and they come back and they end up getting a lot of problems. So yeah, do your homework, but with dentistry, I don't know how really the standard of care needs to come up a lot more.
And the biggest problem is sterilization.
Oh yes, yeah, the hepatitis B virus,
Yeah.
the HIV virus, they are really, some of the places they are still not autoclaving that instrument. They are using the same suction or the things that should be disposed of on patients after patients. And I know personally a couple of family members who have contracted hepatitis B virus while getting a tooth extraction or things like that. So dentistry really is not as trivial that we think that it's somewhere out there and nothing will happen. So yeah, that's my good point about sterilization.
Thank you.
Thank you. So at the end, what I would say is, again, prevention is better than cure. So, but you can also make your own judgment here to do the test here or in India. I mean, I can tell you as an administrator, it's getting harder and harder with the co-pays and the insurance coverages. But definitely, if you need to get it done as soon as possible, wherever you can do, or whatever you can afford. So I would like to say the definition of health according to Vedanta, according to Ayurveda. Swastasya swastha rakshanam, swastasya swastha rakshanam, aturasya vyadhi vinashanam. That means you are swastha, you're healthy. Keep yourself healthy. How to keep yourself healthy? Balance your lifestyle. And aturasya vyadhi vinashanam, that means if you are sick, then balance the ailments to get it over. Okay, so thank you all of you to come here today and share your knowledge. We all enjoy.
Thank you, Jaya, for putting together this fantastic panel. Let's all give a big hand to this. I also want to make a few announcements. There are a lot of exciting programs coming up. In April or May, early May, maybe we will have a interactive session with the Council General of India. We are working on it. We might also invite the mayor and elected officials from here. Still, we are trying to get some dates from them. Then we would have a program that is India Festival. You know, just across the river, there is a Mill River Park. So what we do is that the Saturday before August 15, we have a flag hoisting at the Government Center in Stamford at 11 o'clock, and 12 o'clock we all assemble at the Mill River Park, where we will have from 12 o'clock onwards or 11 o'clock onwards, rather 12 o'clock onwards, we'll have continuous cultural program, music, dance, and then food. So keep that Saturday available. I don't know which Saturday it is, but we still have to
August 12th.
And also kite flying. It's a fun event for all the family, whole family, including children. So keep that date available. And before that, of course, our annual banquet, which will usually we do it at the Marriott Hotel, where we get senators, congressmen, mayors, everybody, and we honor some people who have made outstanding contribution to American society. Our Indian Americans, so that will be sometimes in July. So these programs are coming up, and of course we also have some program for the youngsters, youth. We have GOPIO Youth. They get together twice in a year, one in the end of the year and one during the summertime. So if you have high school kids and all, bring them to our attention or connect them to us so that we can invite them to these networking programs. Anyway, thank you very much and for coming, and let me introduce our secretary, Prasad, would you please join here? And our Vice President, Santosh Genu, and our Director, Srinivas, please come join for a group photo. And also our board member, new board member, Uday.